So you think you're a rebel?
Yeah, me too, until my mom found out everything. The grades, the cops, the...
A lesson in style. The summer rain tapped a gentle, steady rhythm against the window pane. 15-year-old Chloe stared out, tracing the paths of water droplets with her finger. Outside, the world was washed in shades of gray. It matched her mood perfectly. Chloe was popular at school. She wasn't the prettiest or the smartest, but she had a boldness that drew others in. Today, she wore ripped jeans and a thin, black tank top. Her big, lace-up boots reached almost to her knees. Her hair was her pride, long, thick, and a dark honey blonde. It fell in loose waves all the way down to the small of her back. She was grounded, again. Her parents had just finished yelling at her. Her school grades were terrible. She spent all her time hanging out at the mall with her friends, laughing too loud and never doing her homework. The worst part was the lying. She lied about where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing. Last week, things had gone too far. The police had brought her home. She'd been caught trying to steal a cheap necklace and a few rings from a department store. It wasn't about the money, it was about the thrill. To make things worse, she'd been bullying a quiet girl in her science class. Just that afternoon, bored, she'd taken a small pair of scissors from her pencil case, and while the girl was bent over her desk, had snipped off a 3-inch piece of her hair. The girl hadn't even noticed until she stood up and saw the blonde lock on the floor. The teacher had seen everything. Chloe was sent to the principal's office and then straight home. Her mother, Helen, had been waiting. Her face was pale with a quiet anger that was far scarier than shouting. "This is it, young lady," Helen had said, her voice low and shaking. "I have had enough, no more. It's time you started acting like a responsible young woman, and I am going to make sure you do. Your first lesson starts with your appearance." Before Chloe could protest, her mother had grabbed her firmly by the ear and marched her upstairs to her bedroom. "Take off those clothes," Helen demanded. "Now." Confused and angry, Chloe did as she was told, changing into her pajamas. Her mother then began yanking open drawers and her wardrobe, pulling out every pair of jeans, every band t-shirt, every crop top and short skirt. She shoved them all into a large black trash bag. "Mom, stop. Those are my clothes," Chloe cried, trying to grab the bag. Helen swatted her hand away. "They're rubbish. They represent the irresponsible girl you've chosen to be." She tied the bag shut and dragged it downstairs, throwing it into the large bin outside. The only things left in Chloe's closet were a few long, plain skirts and some modest dresses she never wore. Chloe was furious, but a cold thread of fear began to weave through her anger. She had never seen her mother like this. She was locked in her room for the night, her phone confiscated. The next morning, her mother unlocked the door and came in carrying an outfit. It was a long denim skirt that would reach her ankles and a high-necked, white blouse. She also held a thick beige cardigan. "Put these on," Helen said, her voice leaving no room for argument. "I am not wearing this," Chloe shouted. "I look like a grandma." Without a word, Helen grabbed Chloe, turned her over, and delivered 3 sharp, stinging smacks to her backside through her pajama pants. Chloe yelped in shock and pain. Tears sprung to her eyes. "You will wear this," Helen said calmly. "And we are going shopping for more today. Now get dressed and come downstairs for breakfast. No makeup." Humiliated, Chloe put on the stiff, uncomfortable clothes. The skirt was scratchy, and the cardigan felt like it was made of prickly wool. She looked in the mirror and wanted to cry. She looked at least 40 years old. Downstairs, she picked at her toast. Her mother was on the phone in the other room. Chloe could only catch bits of the conversation. "Yes, today at 11. A significant change. She needs to learn a lesson, thank you, Beatrice." Helen came back into the kitchen. "Finish up. We're leaving in 5 minutes." "Where are we going?" Chloe asked, her stomach twisting into a knot. "We are going to Salon Oralia," her mother said sternly. "You are getting a haircut." "What? No, please, Mom, I'll be good, I promise. Don't cut my hair." Panic rose in her throat. "Your hair is a mess. It hasn't been properly cut in years. It's time. No more arguments." Chloe felt sick. Salon Oralia. She'd never been there, but she'd heard stories. Whispers at school said the hairdresser, Beatrice, was super strict. They said she'd tie you to the chair if you misbehaved. The worst story was about the special chair in the shop window, that naughty kids had to sit there and get their hair cut where everyone could see. Chloe had always thought they were just silly rumors. Now she wasn't so sure. An hour later, she was sitting on a hard wooden bench in the salon's waiting area. Her mother sat stiffly beside her. The salon was in a quiet street, tucked between a bakery and a laundromat. The window had lace curtains, but Chloe could see the infamous chair placed right in the center. It looked old-fashioned and imposing. The salon itself was clean but dated. The air smelled strongly of hairspray and a sharp chemical scent she didn't recognize. There was one cutting station with a large mirror. A small table held an array of scissors, combs, and her heart skipped a beat, a pair of electric clippers. There was also a roll of thin, white paper. Chloe had no idea what it was for. A woman emerged from a back room. She was in her 40s, with her own hair styled in a neat, short bob. She wore a crisp, denim apron with pockets full of hairpins and clips. "I'm Beatrice," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Who's next?" "We are," Helen said, standing up and pulling Chloe to her feet. "Well, hello there," Beatrice said, looking Chloe up and down. "My, what a fine, modest skirt. Come along, dear." Chloe walked slowly to the big leather styling chair. It felt like walking to her doom. She sank into it. "What a beautiful young lady," Beatrice said to Helen. "You may take off your cardigan, dear, and let's open the top button of that blouse. No need to be so stifling." She turned to Helen. "Now, what are we thinking for her today? Just a trim?" "Yes, a trim," Chloe blurted out. "No," Helen said, her voice firm and clear. She looked at Beatrice. "This is a punishment cut. This girl needs to learn how to act like a grown-up woman. She's been very, very bad. In fact, is this the girl who cut your niece's hair at school?" Beatrice's friendly expression vanished. Her eyes turned cold. "Is that so? Yes, that's her. My niece cried for an hour." Helen sighed. "I want her to have a proper, short pixie cut, the kind a sensible adult woman would have. I'll give you free rein." Chloe's blood ran cold. "Mommy, please, no." "No more words, young lady," Helen snapped. "You are getting this haircut and you will be grateful for it." "No problem at all," Beatrice said, a hard edge to her voice. "I have plenty of experience with this. And you," she said, leaning close to Chloe's face, "you will listen to me or I will give you a full buzz cut. Be thankful my niece isn't here to see this." Chloe felt tears well up again. She was trapped. "Sit up straight," Beatrice commanded. "Don't slouch. Hold still so I can cape you." Beatrice walked to a hook on the wall and took down a long, purple nylon cape. She swung it around Chloe with a dramatic whoosh. The material felt cold and slippery against her arms. "Chin up," Beatrice said. She tore off a strip of the white paper from the roll and folded it tightly around Chloe's neck. It felt strange and confining. Then she began fastening the cape at the back with a series of loud snaps. Snap, 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 snap. The cape was sealed shut, trapping her. It was so large it covered her completely, draping over the chair like a purple tent. Beatrice pumped a lever, and the chair rose higher, making Chloe feel exposed. She stood behind Chloe and began to brush her long hair. The brush tugged at the tangles. "Time to say goodbye to all this length," Beatrice said calmly. With quick, efficient moves, she gathered all of Chloe's hair into a high ponytail and secured it with a tight elastic band. Chloe watched in the mirror, her heart pounding. But Beatrice didn't pick up scissors. She picked up the electric clippers and plugged them in. Brrrr. The sound was sudden and terrifyingly loud. The machine vibrated in Beatrice's hand. "No, please, not with those," Chloe begged. Beatrice ignored her. She brought the buzzing clippers right up to the base of the ponytail. Crunch. The sound of the blades grinding through the thick hair was awful. In 2 seconds, it was over. Beatrice was holding the entire length of Chloe's hair in her hand. She held it up for a moment before dropping it onto the tiled floor with a soft, final thud. Tears spilled down Chloe's cheeks. "My hair," she sobbed. "It's all gone." "I hate you," she screamed at her mother, who was watching from the bench. "You keep a civil tongue in your head," Beatrice said sharply. "This is only the beginning." Helen stood up and came over, putting her hands on either side of Chloe's face, forcing her to look forward. "You will get this haircut, and you will behave, or I will turn you over my knee right here in this salon. Do you understand?" Chloe nodded, hiccuping with sobs. Her mother returned to her seat. Beatrice sprayed a fine mist of water over Chloe's remaining hair and brushed it all forward over her face. She pinned it on top of her head with several clips. Then, she did something Chloe didn't expect. She went back to the hook and took down a second cape. This one was made of heavy blue denim with metal buttons. She removed the first paper strip and replaced it with a new one, wrapping it even tighter. Then, she swung the denim cape around Chloe and began buttoning it up the front. The buttons were cold against her skin. The cape was incredibly heavy and restrictive. "Why do I need another cape?" Chloe asked, her voice trembling. "This one is for the clippers, dear," Beatrice said. "We don't want any of those little itchy hairs getting down your top, do we?" "Can you loosen it? It's really tight." "No, we can't," Beatrice said flatly, giving the last button a firm push. She pumped the chair up even higher. Then, she picked up a large pair of clippers and a comb. "Head down, please," she instructed. Terrified, Chloe obeyed, resting her chin on her chest. She heard the clippers turn on. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzzzz. She felt the cold metal teeth touch the very top of her spine. Then, Beatrice pushed the clippers upward in a long, slow pass. The vibration shook Chloe's whole body. She could feel hair falling away, a light, tickling sensation on her neck that was quickly replaced by a cold draft. Bzzzzzzz. Bzzzzzzz. Beatrice made pass after pass, working from the nape of her neck up toward the crown of her head. Finally, the clippers stopped. Beatrice used a soft brush to dust away the loose hairs from Chloe's neck. She unbuttoned the heavy denim cape and removed the paper strip. Chloe breathed a small sigh of relief. The worst was over. While Beatrice went to hang up the cape, Chloe dared to glance at the mirror on her side wall. Her breath caught in her throat. Oh my God. The back and sides of her head were shaved shockingly short. It was like dark blonde velvet, no more than a centimeter long. The only hair left was on the very top of her head, still pinned up. "You'll get used to it soon enough," Beatrice said, returning. "Now let's finish the job." "No," Chloe shook her head violently. "Don't you touch me again, I won't sit still." "We'll see about that," Beatrice said with a thin smile. She walked to a cupboard and pulled out a wide denim collar. It had metal buttons on the ends. She wrapped it around Chloe's neck and buttoned it so tightly that Chloe could barely swallow, let alone turn her head. "No, please," Chloe cried, but it was useless. Beatrice picked up her scissors and a comb. "Just look straight ahead, honey." "As if I can move," Chloe thought miserably. Beatrice unpinned the hair on top. It fell down, still long, over the newly shaved sides. She combed it straight down and began to cut. Snip, snip, snip. The scissors were sharp and efficient. Long pieces of blonde hair fell onto the purple cape. Soon, all the hair on top was cut to a uniform length just below her ears. Beatrice moved to the sides, trimming everything into a clean, sharp line. After a few minutes, she called Helen over. "What do you think of this length?" "It's perfect," Helen said. "Very mature, very sensible." "I particularly like the contrast with the shaved nape," Beatrice said. "Yes, it's very striking." Beatrice turned the chair to face the main mirror. "Take a look." Chloe stared. Her reflection was a stranger. Her hair was cut into a severe, chin-length bob, but the back was much shorter, ending high up to reveal the stubbly, shaved undercut beneath. It was extreme. It was not what she would ever choose, but it wasn't a pixie cut. It was actually kind of edgy. She didn't hate it. While she was looking, her mother and Beatrice started talking quietly by the door. She saw her mother point at her and nod. Beatrice smiled and walked back. "Now let me clean this up for you," Beatrice said. She removed the collar and the purple cape. For a glorious second, Chloe felt free. But then Beatrice put the heavy denim cape back on, along with a fresh paper strip. She used a smaller set of clippers to tidy up the edges around Chloe's ears and the hairline on her neck. Then, she blow-dried the top section, using a brush to flick the ends under. Finally, she sprayed a cloud of stronghold hairspray over everything. The smell was sharp and chemical. The chair was lowered. Beatrice finally unbuttoned the denim cape for the last time. Chloe stood up, her legs shaky. She reached for her itchy cardigan, desperate to cover up and leave. "Hold it right there, young lady." Her mother and Beatrice were standing together, blocking her path. "What?" Chloe asked, confused. "We're done, right? I had the haircut." "That was the first part of your punishment," Helen said. "Beatrice and I agreed on a little more. You didn't behave perfectly in the chair, so you're going to help Beatrice with some advertising." Chloe's heart dropped. "What?" "See that chair in the window?" Beatrice said. "You're going to sit in it for a few hours. Consider it a public service announcement on the consequences of bad behavior." "You can't make me do that," Chloe cried. "Oh, yes, we can," her mother said. Each woman took one of Chloe's arms and marched her to the chair in the window. It had wide, leather armrests with straps. They pushed her into the seat and fastened the straps around her wrists. She was trapped. Then Beatrice brought over the blue denim cape. "No, please, not again," Chloe begged, but it was no use. The paper strip was wrapped around her neck, and the heavy button-up cape was fastened tightly around her. She felt like a prisoner on display. "Now you sit still and think about your actions this afternoon," Beatrice said. "Then you can go home, and this will be over." Beatrice pressed a button on the side of the chair. With a soft whirring sound, the chair began to slowly rotate. And so she sat. The rain had stopped and people were out on the street. Some walked past without a glance. Others stopped and stared. A few pointed and laughed. Her face burned with humiliation. Then a group of kids from her school saw her. They gathered outside, giggling and taking pictures on their phones. Chloe wanted to disappear into the chair. But then she saw him, Leo, a boy from her math class. She knew he liked her. She'd always thought he was kind of cute but too shy. He stopped and looked at her. Instead of laughing, he gave her a small, sympathetic smile. When the chair turned so the others couldn't see, he quickly made a heart shape with his hands and blew her a kiss. Chloe's face flushed a deep red, but for a different reason this time. Finally, as the sun began to set, Beatrice came out and unstrapped her. She unbuttoned the cape for the last time. "I hope you've learned your lesson, young lady," Beatrice said. "And thank you. My phone has been ringing all afternoon. Mothers want this haircut for their own daughters. It seems you've started a new trend." Later in the car, Chloe sat in silence, staring out the window. She touched the short, soft hair at the back of her neck. She thought about the long hair on the salon floor. She thought about the kids laughing. She thought about Leo. She wished she would never, ever have to go back to Salon Oralia again. But as her mother drove, a small, strange feeling began to mix with her shame. It wasn't acceptance, exactly. But maybe, just maybe, it was the very beginning of understanding.